Hospital porters, pride and dignity, stop the New World Order. Welcome to her Panmo TV.
Now that is sort of my Daily Telegraph reader's accent. Now, as you know, I've been reviewing David Icke's appearance in the printed media, and I've been doing the correct accents to sort of match the way these stories will be interpreted by the people who read them. And my Sun reader's accent is like this: "God blimey, David Icke's in the Sun. Skip over page 3. Let's go and listen to David Icke. Oh yeah." And my Daily Mail accent is kind of like this, if you remember, because this is the more sort of professional commerce-based Essex man type person who reads the Daily Mail, the sort of suburban conservative. Now the Daily Telegraph is different. The Daily Telegraph readers, well, their accent will be a bit like the Daily Mail kind of person, but the Telegraph is a bit more intellectual than the Daily Mail. I mean, the Mail is more for kind of like sort of businessmen type people, whereas the Telegraph is kind of more for the intellectual. They tend to be academics, Telegraph readers. They tend to be conservative, and usually I think they're quite old, most of them, but you know, it's an old man's newspaper really, but they're academic. They're the kind of Oxford Don type person. So that's kind of how I'm going to do the Telegraph reader's accent. Right, David Icke. Here we are. David Icke, would you believe it? Oh, yes. David Icke is back. Oh, David Icke is back. Offering his conspiracy theories on a world tour, and miraculously, people are now listening. And this is by a lady called Harriet Alexander. They travelled from faraway lands, following a star to find salvation and pay homage to the man who would show them the way. But this was not Nazareth, at least not this time. There was no hint that he might be the Son of God. David actually spoke in the fair city of Zagreb, which is the capital city of Croatia. And he spoke to a bustling crowd of 1,300 people. And now this actually is probably the most, of all the articles I've reviewed so far, this is the third one. This is probably the least phony, actually. It's the wittiest, it's the most intelligent. It borders occasionally on kind of decency, as far as they can get to. You know, it's definitely for the thinking man's person, but it does have a few kind of like intellectual jokes. For instance, the reporter who went to this event said it was like being inside a Dan Brown theme park, set inside the Matrix. Oh yes, a Dan Brown theme park. Very funny, yeah. David, they interview some of the people, like Vanessa Velicic, who's a student. When I first read his book, I was confused, and it took me a while to make sense. But now I'm excited by his ideas. And there's several other local people, and it's really they do make some of the same jokes that the Sun did. Like here it says, "But now it is Icke who was having the last laugh." Oh, yes. And then it's again, you see, they've made that joke in all three papers. All three reporters have made that joke now in all three newspapers. And of course, they go on. Oh, they have to bring up money again. So again, they have to repeat this thing. You see, talking about how this is a phenomenal world tour, and they mention the 2,100 strong crowd. And he's going back to Melbourne as well. Well, a member of my forum has actually went to his Melbourne show, and so David, yeah. So the ticket was reasonably priced. You see, it says here they do exactly the same thing. They say, well, in Melbourne alone, ticket sales racked up £83,000. Oh yes, oh yes. Well, how much did it cost to hire the venue? How much did it cost to stage an event like this? There's advertising, there's publicity, there's logistics, there's catering. I mean, I wonder, I really seriously doubt, I've said this before and I'll say it again, I seriously doubt that David made a significant profit from what he does when he does these live shows. I mean, this gets even more ridiculous here. It goes, here we go. Through his website, you can download his $1.99 iPhone app, or you know, and well, the iPhone app does. I have a problem with that, I think, because David did tell us not to use mobile phones. So I don't know why he's got a phone app now. It's a bit, I don't know. Anyway, it says here. It talks about the T-shirt for £15, and then it says, but T-shirts and ticket sales are small fry compared to the revenues generated by his books. And it talks here. It says here, Nielsen, that's the book data people,
They calculate that Icke has sold 140,000 copies worth over £2 million.
This is very misleading because £2 million. Well, this is the thing. They're playing on people's ignorance of the book industry. Now, I'm a writer like David is, and I know a little bit about writing and publishing, and I know that when they say the books are worth over £2 million, that is the actual gross sales revenue of the books. Now, what it doesn't say is that when you publish a book and you sell it, right, of all the money that comes back in, the author usually gets about 10 to 20% of that. So if a book sells for £10, the author will be lucky to get £1 out of it, basically £1 or £2. So really, this is misleading. It's making out that the net profit from the book is £2 million when it's not. The net profit in the book is much lower than that. So again, they're trying to sort of make out David's. It's a money making scam for David. Do you know what I mean? And this is what they said before. They're saying it again, and they're aiming it more at the kind of readers. It's interesting the way these different newspapers, repackage the same story for the kind of readership they have. As I said, the Telegraph is the academic kind of person, who people like this, who talk like this, a kind of Peter Hitchens kind of person, Although Peter Hitchens actually writes for the Daily Express, but I mean he talks like a Telegraph reader, I think, and he has those kind of views, those academic conservative views. Oh yes. Anyway, it goes on, basically goes through his background research again. And then, here we go. Right, they have to do exactly the same thing again. Every single article, every single one of them, has brought up the turquoise triangle. Yes, they have to go into in a sleazy way, into David's personal relationships and his love interests. As if David is the first person on earth to suffer from these different problems and go through these dilemmas. It's these kind of problems. Every single person. Virtually, almost every single person in the world at some point goes through these relationship problems. But because it's David Icke, they have to make a big deal out of it and make it like it's something sordid, some kind of sordid aberration. And so they go on about, oh dear, and they go on about his most recent marriage and how that broke down. Yeah, they have to, again. Now this is interesting. They interview Dr. Karen Douglas, a psychologist from the University of Kent. Well, if you care to look into the description box, I've got my own little article in there because I met Karen Douglas and I went to one of her events. And if you look in the description box, there's a link to the article where I report on that event. Now, it goes on about, it's dealing with their own lack of control over information and empowering people. I think that's how she talked, anyway. In the age of the internet and stuff like this, it's unjust to class everyone with interest in conspiracy theories as being unhinged. Well, thank you very much. You can't make a blanket assumption they're all fruitcakes. Most people are just looking for some kind of explanation. Now then, Mark Devlin, 41, a DJ from Oxford, my hometown, travelled to Zagreb. He went all the way to Zagreb to see the show and admitted that at first he thought Icke was a nutter. But I gradually became interested in his ideas, read his book, and it slowly slotted into place. Well, I'm in Oxford, so Mark Devlin, DJ, if you're watching this, get in touch with me and we'll meet up and have a pint, Again, people, it goes on, they outside the crowds, it's all very poetic. Outside, the crowds peeled off into the Zagreb night, their faces alight with revelation. Marco Telly, 78, a former professor at the University of California, said he felt empowered by the experience. And he's an academic like us. He's an academic who should be reading the Daily Telegraph, but instead he goes to Icke's live lectures in Croatia. Oh dear, silly man. But he says at the end, people deserve to know the truth. Thank you, Professor Tal. And there's lots of comments here, as you see. Amazing. There's David's ex-wife is commenting here as well. So obviously she wants to put her scene in. Now I haven't looked through all these comments. I don't like it because most commenters, like most people on the internet, are just so downright nasty and mean and cowardly, and they say nutter, stupid fool, idiot, and other fruitcake, because they're anonymous and they can lash out. as people do, you know. So I'm not going to read the comments. The article's there, you can look at the comments yourselves if you've got a stomach for them. I know that a few of them will be supportive of David, and Astain has actually looked through all these comments, and she's writing an article about this subject, and yeah, it's some of them are appreciative, you know. So I wonder what the media is going to bring up with David next. I wonder, you know, he's been interviewed by 3 major national newspapers, so what next? Maybe hello. Maybe they could do a little screenshot of David sitting like this on his table, you know, in his flat, you know. Or you can't beat hello, can you? Anyway, if that comes, you can be sure that I will review it on Her Panwo TV. Thanks for watching. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, stop the New World Order.